Hello, everyone. As people are sort of trickling in here, if you wouldn't mind, I haven't seen all the chats from where people are from, so let me know where you're joining from in the chat there. I'd love to see. Nice. And if you've been sitting, great. Awesome. Oh, good. If you've been sitting for a long time, please take a minute too this is a drama session. So feel free to do some sort of stretches with me. Just get your blood moving again. I know it's been a wonderful but a long day. I'm very happy that you're joining me in this session. It's hopefully going to be fun, entertaining, but also give you some awesome resources for the classroom. And as we're sort of doing our stretches here, I'm going to tell you something kind of interesting. I did this whole presentation and then I received an email, and I'm sure that I knew this, and I'm sure we received it before, but I received an email that I would not be able to see anyone. And my whole presentation was based around teaching drama in the classroom, using you guys to help me out so I could see you. So last night I had to change the entire presentation, and I'm sure it'll be just as great, but so I'm going to be looking for some feedback in the chat, because I don't want this to be me sort of lecturing. So please feel free, if you have any questions, please ask throughout. I'd rather not wait till the end, because I know there's going to be a lot. I'm going to be talking about a lot. So please feel free, ask questions as you go along. Oh, people are coming in from everywhere. This is awesome. So yeah, please feel free to ask questions as we go along. So hopefully that story gets even funnier when I introduce myself. So I'm Jennifer Thivierge, and I'm actually the Interim Director of Education for the Royal Canadian Geographical Society Can Geo Education. So I took over in May, and I have to tell you, this is an amazing job, and this is an amazing organization. I am so happy to be here. Our resources are absolutely incredible, and I can't believe they're all free. So it's just a resource. It's like a gold mine. So in terms of who I am, my background is quite varied. If you know the term bricoleur, that's sort of the one I use, sort of like a multifaceted background, I guess. Well, some people say multifaceted, and I say I just didn't know what to do with myself for a long, long time. So I'm still trying to figure it out. But I'm working on my PhD in history, on the history of women in computer science at Canadian universities. So I have a background learning about STEM. But I am not a STEM person myself. My master's was this, teaching process drama. So teaching students through affective engagement, not effective, but affective. So engaging those emotions and those interactions through education. I also have a Bachelor of Education. So I did the intermediate senior in teaching history, music, and drama. And I was a music teacher, so I taught voice and instruments in the classroom for grades 2 to 8. So I got my first job teaching in the primary junior. So like I said, a little bit of a varied background, but it's brought me all here, and like I said, I've enjoyed every minute of it. So process drama. Has anyone used drama in their classrooms? Just say yes or no, or just give me a little indication of where people are in terms of drama. Yeah, sweet. All right. If not, that's fine. Okay, good. All right. Great. Is anyone familiar with process drama? Has anyone heard that term before? Or is this one new? Yeah, oh, good. Some say yes, awesome. So hopefully I can give you some new tips and tricks and techniques. And I'm just gonna see if I can change my screen here. Has it flipped over for you? Yes, good. Okay, I'm gonna need my glasses here. So process drama, this is sort of the background. It's a method of teaching and learning where both the students and teacher are working in and out of roles. So this was developed partially by Cecily O'Neill. Now you'll see there's a lot of techniques that are developed by different people. So Cecily O'Neill sort of was the one to describe it. So she described process drama being used to explore a problem, situation, theme, or series of related ideas or themes through the use of the artistic medium of unscripted drama. So what process drama does is it really activates inquiry. It activates the children's minds. So it sort of takes the teacher out of being the controller of the information and accesses the students as holding sort of the keys to the castle, as you will. So it's a really interesting process. And I'm going to go a little bit more into depth about describing it. So it's introduced in the 1990s as a technique to teach in the classroom. So I have to be clear, it's different than acting. So in acting, where you go see a performance, you go see a play, lines are scripted, rehearsed, memorized, and they're performed. This is not the goal of process drama. That's watching sort of a performance. So the process drama is very different in that sense that these things are not scripted, rehearsed, and a lot of times it will move in ways that you won't expect. The students may take you in ways that you may not thought the drama was going to go. And the one interesting thing about this is that I find that process drama can be used with all grade levels. And like I said, inquiry is an integral process of learning. And process drama also accesses those students who may need to move, may need to, or kinesthetic learners, or oral learners, who may not otherwise express themselves in writing or tests or assignments. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So my master's research was using high school students. So, and you know, I had one kid who was just really nervous about drama and using drama, and but he was keen, and by the end of it, he was just totally involved. And you will get those kids who aren't. You will get those kids who are like, I'm too cool for drama, but I think it can be accessed by all ages. And I'm going to tell you another. So the second story, which I found was really interesting, is we did a sort of a process drama session where we were talking about the Winnipeg General Strike. Now, to be honest, the Winnipeg General Strike, for me, unions and all that kind of stuff is not super interesting. But during the strike, we found out that one person had died. So I came in the class, I had a big badge. I was the sheriff or the town council person. And I said, I'm sorry to tell you guys, like, one person has died and we need to figure out how. And we'd prepared in advance all these different sessions. So the kids went through and they looked at, they listened to an audio recording of that time. They saw some photographs from that time, and they sort of had to figure out, they had a sheet that said who, what, when, where, why, and how. And they had to fill out the sheet as to what had happened. And they had to figure out at the very end what was going on. And most of them did. And there's that one kid, you know, that one kid in the back who's like this. And he was not into it, but he was there and he was engaged and he was a part of the class. And at the end of that semester, we had a final unit, a culmination unit, or a test, or a culmination test of everything they'd learned. And the funny thing is on that test, he didn't do too well on most parts of the test except for that section. He'd filled it all out. The who, what, when, where, why. He knew everything about the Winnipeg General Strike. So sometimes you can reach those kids through drama, even though they may not be 100% engaged in it. So hopefully you found those interesting stories. So the benefits of process drama is that there is minimal acting. So just like I said, you don't always need to have you yourself, but also your students don't have to be actors and have acting abilities in order to do this. You can be yourself within the drama, and I'll show you some ways to use it so that you just maybe need a prop. And sometimes you don't even need anything. You use your own imaginations with the kids. So there can be a few characters. Students have to play anyone other than themselves, which is really great when you're, you don't have kids who, and then you'll get those kids who are totally involved and who are like me and are just over the top and ready to rock and roll. All right, I'll move this ahead. So in order to have a really great process drama experience, what you want to have is a few basic sort of rules. So you don't have to have them all, but you need to have sort of at least a few of them in order to create sort of that drama. So the first one is to create tension. You need to create sort of a tension or a surprise. Something like if you're telling a story and the story is about canoes, very Canadian kind of story, you tell the kids that just like in the Winnipeg General Strike story, that someone in this canoe is going to die. So those types of tensions, what the kids already know something's going to happen, it may change the trajectory of where they're going to go with the drama. It may change their idea of how things are going to go through. So creating that tension, creating the mystery as well. So that's obviously, creating that sort of, we're walking through that fog, we're walking through that mist, and what are we walking towards? And leaving that sort of tension, that mystery for the kids. Creating that element of surprise. So when that cloud, those fog kind of lifts, oh, now we see the enemy. We see those enemy lines, and there they are. So those elements of surprise that may come about, and also those elements of surprise can help you pull it in the direction that you want the drama to go. So if the kids are kind of going a little far off of where you wanted the session to begin and where you wanted the session to end, then you can sort of pull them back into the drama in a way that it facilitates where you wanted it to go. You're going to want to place demands on them, such as sort of a sense of urgency, solve a riddle. They have to introduce things like potions, introduce medals, introduce goals. And I know a lot of other sessions that I've been popping in and out of today have said that in terms of the way that they facilitate telling stories. And I think process drama takes it one step further. So instead of telling the story, you engage the kids in that story. They become a part of that story. You're the one that holds the medals and you give out those medals. And I'll give you examples of those, way to introduce those. Good. So let me show you some interesting ways. So in terms of roles, you can put yourself sort of in and outside of a role. You want students to join you in those roles as well. It doesn't have to be that, again, you're talking to them. Bring them in with you. Bring them in with you into those roles, because you don't want it to be that they're watching you in a performance or in a sort of a role for too long anyway. If this is something very new to you, if you are not 100% comfortable with using drama and you're sort of pushing out of your comfort zone, first of all, good for you. Do it. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun. But one suggestion I have is, if you're feeling very uncomfortable using drama in the classroom, is start with something that isn't too far off from where you are currently. Something in your curriculum. Choose a book. Maybe the kids I've read that book, and I don't know if anyone else has heard of the Three Little Pigs story, but there's the other one, and I forget the name of it now, but it's from the point of view of the wolf. And the wolf says, well, I was asking for a couple, true story, the Three Little Pigs, that's it. Yeah. So, the wolf says, I was just asking for a cup of sugar, but these rude pigs were, who had built these really pathetic houses were you know, being super rude to me, and their houses collapsed on them. And so telling that other side of the story. So, you know, and I often think of the paper bag princess as being a really awesome example of sort of the other side of the story. You know, she becomes the heroine of the tale, and she doesn't want what traditionally is wanted. So taking traditional stories, traditional tales, and flipping it on its head is a really great way to get yourself comfortable with using that sort of drama in the classroom. You can also use props. Props are really easy to use. I'm going to show you this. This is super easy, and I'm going to probably, I think I'm going to use it a little bit later on. Hopefully you can still see me. I'm going to put you up to my ceiling here. But really, if you're wanting to move in and out of a role and in and out of a drama, you just simply do this. You know, you've got a jacket, you've got binoculars, you've got a scarf, or whatever, something really super small, so that the kids know, okay, now we're going into the drama, now we're going into the role. And then if you're asking questions, if you guys are doing reflection, take it off if you remember, you know, and now we're moving back into teacher mode as opposed to being in the role drama mode. Kids can bring something too as well if they want. Sometimes kids love bringing in fun things to use if they know about the drama in advance. Yeah, and incorporate, the next part is to incorporate student ideas into the drama. Again, there doesn't have to be some sort of outcome or goal that's necessary. Sometimes it's that process of learning, and that's why it's called process drama, not sort of goal learning. We want to activate their minds and to have them thinking through those processes. You could ask them by asking questions, or asking them for ideas if they get lost, or if they're muddled, or if they're losing direction. Again, to bring them back in is having those questions and those reflections. So reflection is it's something that, space. It doesn't require, process drama doesn't require a lot of space. You don't need big gymnasiums. You don't need big theaters. You sometimes maybe just need to push a couple of chairs off. You could even have kids sitting in their chairs. It doesn't really have to involve a lot of space. It depends what you have and what you have access to, and it's really up to you what you want to use. All right. So just some suggestions when you're doing process drama, and I promise we're getting to it. We're getting to the actual meat, but I just wanted to give you the backgrounds of it and the things that are really important for process drama. Before I continue, is there any questions while I take a sip of tea? How are we doing? We're still with me? All right. Good. Okay. So some great things to have is to have a journal. You can also have, if you're sort of tech savvy, you can have recordings of the kids as well to use later on for evaluation or for marking. You can stop the drama as much as you want to write. You can, start again the next day. If the period is changing over, you can stop again, have them do a journal for homework. So really have a journal for thoughts and feelings to have. Oftentimes, and during my master's research, some of the most amazing things came out of their journals. Some kids are very eloquent writers. Some kids were able to express during the drama with like speaking and orally. It was really cool to see, the way that the kids really learned and the way they could interact. The other suggestion I have is have warm-up exercises. I'll show you some of those. These can be really simple, especially for kids who are not maybe used to moving in class, because you don't want things to get out of control and out of hand in terms of getting silly and all over the place. It's a good way to sort of introduce them to moving and to see you moving as well, because they may not be used to seeing you moving in different ways as the teacher. So exercises can be short or long. They can be a few minutes. Tableau could be 10 minutes. Or you could have, week-long sessions, depending on what you want to do and what your goal is in terms of the process drama. So it's something that you can quickly use, for a 10-minute session, or you can use over long periods of time, and it's really up to you. You can reuse Tableau, you can reuse mirroring, you can, the mantle of the expert is one we're going to be talking about, and it's a long series. You can do those for weeks and weeks. And again, sort of that space thing, I think I put it twice. Yeah, reflection. So the last one there has to be reflection. So please make sure that you do have time to have reflection, because like I said, kids really expect themselves, you know, very well in the reflection. So give them some time. So if you're going through a session and it's a little bit longer, even if it's a short one, make sure you leave that time. And I'm like, you're all seasoned teachers, so you know to give them that time to reflect within and without the drama. Anne was just saying, student vote, students take on the electoral role. Yes, it's so cool. Students are involved there doing, not just sitting and getting. Yeah, so that's awesome. Thanks. And I did something similar during my master's. So we were talking about the vote to send the vote to send kids off to war. Because for conscription. So at first they said no conscription. We're not going to do conscription, and you know, it's your choice to go to war or not. So I went in role as two opposite sides of the coin. So I said in one role, yes, it's their choice. They should have the choice whether to fight for king and country or not. And the second role said, well, you know, we need to fight for our country, and for those dissenters who are just sort of sitting around and not doing anything, we need to give them some impetus to go. They're going to fight for king and country. And the kids got a vote whether they were going to send them through conscription or not, and they all voted, and most of them voted no. And I swear to you, they were like, what happened? What actually happened? Tell me what happened. They were on the edge of their seat to see what had happened. And I was like, this is voting. I know we're going to the polls in a couple weeks, but I'm not really, you know, as excited as they were really after that session. So, and I said, yeah, they voted for conscription. So they, and they blew up. The whole class was like screaming and tears. And the conversation that came out of that was unbelievable. They were just so engaged, and it didn't take long to prepare, and it didn't take long to do, and it is a little bit more role on my part, but I was literally just reading from scripts from old in-house sessions that they had in Parliament, discussion sessions. So you know, it really, that power is it's a very powerful tool. So thank you for that. So let's get into the fun stuff. These are a couple of techniques. Mantle of the expert, pack a pack, tap in, and tableau. So before I continue though with these, any questions? We're all good? We're still with me? We're still stretching? We're still moving? Okay. So I'm going to kind of do this backwards, because I want to show you the techniques before we do the actual warm-ups for those techniques, because like I said, I planned this for us to be doing this together. So I'm, you know, I can't see you, but if you want to do it with me, feel free. And I'm going to be asking for your opinions and your thoughts on some things through the chat. So please join me in this. So I'm gonna stand. I'll see if maybe I'll put you guys a bit higher so you can see me in this room rather than me having to flip up to my ceiling. So let me see if I've got, oh, I got a stack of books. Hold on just a sec, folks, so that we can move. And kids love this because you can move, you know, and there's limited opportunities to move always in the classroom other than in gym class. So so what we can do is, so if we're going to do sort of a mantle of the expert in terms of explorers, so let's just say I'm going to put myself in role. So I'm going to put on my trusty jacket, and I don't know about you, but it's like 39 degrees here in Ottawa today, so it's hot. We'll do it anyways. So the kids know the drama has sort of began, you know, and I say, sharing my screen. Okay, let me do that. Somebody just asked for me to stop sharing my screen. How's this? Better? Good? All right. So if we're going to be doing this sort of mantle of the expert, what I would do with my kids is I would put on the jacket and I would just say, you know, I'd have them sitting around and I'd say, ring, 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 ring. Yeah, I know they're not answering. I need somebody to pick up the phone on the other line. So what I was hoping is, so again, this is going to be stop and start. So I apologize. I'm going to be explaining to you what's going on. I should take my coat off. But so the kids will answer the phone and somebody will say hello, and I'll say, oh, thank goodness. I've been looking forward to talking to you. This is the Exclusive Explorers Association, right? I'm looking for the Exclusive Explorers Association. This is who I'm contacting. I mean, if the kid says yes or no, because that's who I'm looking forward for. I would love some information on your organization, but I actually have a group of explorers who would like to come on an exclusive exploration with your company. And it would just be an amazing experience, I think. But, you know, most of us are not explorers, and most of us live in a city. So we'd like to really get out into the forest. We'd like to get out in the open. We'd like to go in places where there's oceans, or we like to go in places that has a lot of water. And we don't know anything about that. I'm hoping that your group can maybe help me make a list or start to tell us about all the important things that we would know as explorers. And if you could perhaps maybe send that to me, that would be great. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day. So you can see it begins, right? The sort of setting up that drama, and there you've got something to mark if you want to do something right away. So you have the kids. They can also do a brainstorm. It doesn't have to go in terms of writing. It could be they brainstorm together. What the mantle of the expert does is it exactly what it says. It's that mantle. So the kids become the adults. They become the experts. They get some agency in terms of what they're going to be telling you. Kids love being the expert on things. My 4-year-old is an expert on everything. So, you know, they like to have that sort of agency. So giving that right off the bat sets up the stage, sets up the scene, sets up the drama as me being the learner and them being the teachers in that session. So again, you can get them to write what I'm going to need to know. You could, for the younger groups, you could say 3 things. For older groups, you could, you know, make it a little bit more challenging in terms of giving them specific locations that they may have to do a background on. We're going to go to Banff National Park. Maybe they need to do some background information of what's there and what kinds of things we would need when we go there. So then again, you know, we can also do some background. Who lived on the trail? What kinds of lakes? What kinds of mountains? What kinds of wildlife? What kinds of foliage? Who will we encounter? What will we encounter on the trail? So you can go through the drama with the kids in terms of keeping that mantle on as long as you want. I only did it for a couple seconds, but you can go in and out of those roles and asking those questions. Yeah, looking up things, like I said, like Banff National Park. And a really cool way, because I'm the director, I'm going to have to plug our giant floor maps. And I thought, what a cool way to bring the kids in is getting one of those giant floor maps and doing this role play mantle of the expert right on those giant floor maps, looking up things. You know, you have the kids moving all over the place and being part of the drama as well. So when the kids have done a bit of research, they've done some background information on their topics. The next thing we would probably do is have them show them into a Tableau. So once they have that sort of list of all the different things that they're going to need, you know, the young ones will say you need your boots and you need your hats and you need your food and you need your tents and you need your you know, all the stuff for regular sort of exploration trips. You have them show it in Tableau. So does everyone know what a tableau is? Who's not familiar with a tableau? Yes or no? I'm taking another sip of my tea. Tableau? Has everyone fallen asleep? All right, there we go. Okay, so Tableau is really just sort of static images with your bodies, right? So a tableau, let me see if I can do something really simple. You know, who am I in this sort of tableau? You know, like I'm a very bad dancer. I'm a very bad dancer, you know? Tableau, it's sort of like it could be a static or a moving picture. Okay, so it's just standing still. We've done archers before, you know, archery. We've done you know, exercise people, whatever. Sort of kids are much better at this. They love doing this, but the older groups will do it as well. So what we might want to do is when we have that sort of list of all the things that the kids will need, we'll have them get into small groups and say, okay, your group is going to be in charge of like physically representing the equipment that you're going to need to navigate the water. So they may want to have a kid like lying down like they're in a canoe, and then maybe another kid's going to have sort of that backpack on. So finding physical ways to represent travel. So maybe they're gonna represent shelter. You know, you have other kids representing tents, and they represent, you know, tarps, and you have those all the kids sort of together, and have them stay in those tableaux for a while. If you want to engage them in terms of asking questions, you can also take out a couple of kids and say, okay, so these kids are my junior explorers, and they can come around with you. Maybe the kids that might not be maybe very shy, or maybe need to be in more of a group rather than in a tableau, and the kids can come with you and they can ask questions as the kids are in tableau. So I'm in tableau, and you know, I can say, what are you? Oh, I'm a tent. And what is your function? Oh, you know, I'm a shelter. So you bring those kids around with you to ask those important questions. So for the younger ones, yeah, so I was talking about, so we can also represent different parts within. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. You can represent trees. You can represent grass. Kids can represent, and like I said, they're really good about being able to represent these types of things in physical forms. You know, and it's really interesting for them. And then there's a technique called tap in. And I know with COVID we're not doing that, but we can maybe be rude and sort of do a point. But you can do a tap in. So if there's a kid who's crunched down, you know, and you say, what are you? You tap on and you say, what are you? So that sort of activates the kid. And now I'm a blade of grass. And for the younger kids, you can say, like, how old are you? For the older kids, you could ask, how has your species grown or shrunk in the last 10 years? And the older kids, you can ask, can you tell us about common factors in your growth or extinction? So the questions can be tailored towards the groups, the different groups that you are using in those tableaus. So is there any questions about how that sort of functions in terms of mantle of the expert? I know it's hard with me doing it by myself and you don't have a whole classroom. I won't have time, but maybe I'll put it in the chat. There was a really great lesson, but it was about bullying, but it was a really neat lesson, and I'll discuss it a little bit later, but it may be a good way to show how this mantle of the expert really works. So the other thing to know about when you're using process drama is we as teachers tend to want to help. We tend to want to jump in. We tend to want to, you know, if students are struggling in terms of asking questions, or if they're struggling in terms of explaining things, we want to help them along. But really, again, we have to remember that we are the ones who don't know anything about this. We are the ones that are being told by the students. So really take the time to listen, take the time to let them explain in ways that maybe they've never done before, or maybe difficult to them. So we're going to introduce some tension into this story. So we're now, we know everything we know everything that we need to go on this explorer adventure. And again, you can make this as long or as short as you want. If you want extensions, you have them, all the kids go to this new explorer association. There might be speeches, there could be introductions, there could be, you could appoint one kid as being the head, the president of this association. So really, the options are really endless, and it just engages the kids in a really unique kind of way. But in terms of creating that tension, so now we've established that mantle, we've established the kids as being the experts. We're going to introduce some tension. So we say, oh my gosh, okay, now there's a storm coming. What are we going to do? We need to find some shelter. What kinds of things, quick, do we need to find to get out of this storm? Do we have some things in our pack to get away from this storm? And you can do a quick tableau. You can have the kids go quickly into the tableau. You can also have the kids. You can say you're a ranger in the park. What kinds of things will you have to protect us? What kinds of, we're visitors to the park. What kinds of things can we do to protect ourselves from this storm? But again, it's important to, once we've gone through that storm and we've gone through that those sessions, ask the kids, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about the storm? Did you feel like you had adequate shelter? What did you do to protect yourselves? And again, there's extension in terms of, you can have them write about it, you can have them draw about it. There's a lot of different ways to access those thoughts and those feelings, and because you need that, again, you need that reflection. Also, make sure that you have an ending to the drama. So going back into role, I'm going to say, thank you so much for joining me today. This was so wonderful to have these wonderful explorers and part of the Explorer Association teach us about everything that we needed to know to survive, and all those interesting facts that we heard about during our exploration. And I hope that we can do this again next time, and we will see you again soon. So again, make sure that you end the drama. We're done. We're out of it. We're finished. Exit the park together. We can write about it. We can sing about it. We can do anything that we want about it. You can have the kids describe the stories to their families. So it's a really neat way to sort of come in and out, mantle of the expert. Any questions about that? I know it's a lot. How are we doing? Still all together? Good. Okay. So sort of an extension to these things is having, like I said, we're going to kind of go backwards. So you can have them pack a pack. So right at the very beginning, when we talked about having all these ways that we can go into this Explorers Association, you can have the kids physically pack a pack. So again, it's a nice way to get them involved in the drama without them playing characters and being. And again, I other than the park rangers who could be the kids themselves, there is no real role. We don't really change into other people. We just maybe have different thoughts and different ideas. So packing a pack, you say, okay, so I've got my food. You have the kids sort of sitting down. I have my food. I've got my tent. I've got my shoes. And you have them sort of really physically pack a pack and put it together. And it's a really nice way just to introduce them to movement again, and ways to get them thinking. Like I said, tap in. So the tap in technique is the one where if you really want the kids to engage, maybe the kids that haven't sort of said anything so far, you can tap in. Kids really love to share their thoughts, obviously, and share their ideas. So tap in, tap out if you want. Tableau is, again, those frozen frames, the frozen pictures. The pictures can move again, but they don't have to. I'm not going to put, I'm not going to put my presentation up because I just have words there unless you need it. So Yeah, and like you said, math, word problems, history, current events, and more. I am all about interdisciplinary learning, even in secondary. It always confused me why, well, I understand why we split them up, but I think that it's so helpful to have teachers working together and using the concepts from all different parts of the curriculum and using them together. When I taught music, the students did a medieval unit at the school that I was teaching at, and I said, great, let's listen to some medieval music in our classrooms. So I love that we can integrate those things and make those connections for the kids in ways that's meaningful and useful for them. Yeah, so some of these are the warm-ups. So like I said, to do these, you can either do these at the beginning, you can do these throughout, but it's just a good way to get kids moving and ways to start doing drama if they haven't been doing it before. So this one's using an imaginary ball. I said, I don't know if many of you were in the energy IQ session, but you could also use energy. So you could use lightning. I could send lightning across. So you just use the ball. So you say, here we go. Here's an imaginary ball. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'll take my glasses off for a sec. So I'm going to make eye contact with my partner, and I'm going to throw the ball to my partner. So I've made eye contact with my partner, and then I throw the ball to my partner. My partner catches the ball and makes eye contact with me and then throws it again. So it's just that physicality of it. The ball can change. A ball can get bigger. You can have maybe a football. Maybe now we've got, I'm not a football player, by the way, but you can have a football. You throw that football across, right? The other person catches it, changes it. Maybe it's a gooey ball. Maybe it's a yucky ball. You throw the, so getting kids sort of moving in ways that they may not be used to moving. And the partner, again, has to mimic. And then the way to end this sort of ball game is to find that original ball. So you say, okay, go around the class, find that first ball that you had. Where is it? Can you find it? Who's going to find it last? And you find that ball, take it in your hand, and you sit. And again, you could do it with energy. You could throw lightning. You could throw electricity. You could use all different concepts for that, but just getting them moving. The other one is an imaginary banana. So using peeling that banana. I don't like bananas, so I'm going to take my banana and throw it away. And then you crumple it up, and then you do, somebody else around the circle does the next sort of item or does a banana in a different way. So just using that physicality again. Mirroring, this is really cool. I love mirroring. It's a really cool exercise to use in very different ways. We used it to show violence and ways that things could escalate. So what we did is, if I had a partner across from me, I would be student A and then student B. So student A starts and student B would be mirroring what I'm doing. So he or she would be doing the same things that I would be doing. Do it slowly at first, and don't guide the kids. Let them sort of do it on their own. Do whatever they want to do, and then make the movements bigger, and they get more complicated, and the kids can move a lot. And you can do this in duos, and then you could do it in four. Do it in a group of four. So what they're doing is they're trying to see everybody moving at the same time. Sort of raises their awareness, of their body, of where others are going, how others are moving. You could also use mirroring in terms of, I made examples in terms of the younger kids. You can move as an animal, mirror movements of an animal. So the younger, the old ones, you can ask them to move as a biped or a quadruped. So, it can be modified for different ages and different groups. So the partners, what they can do is to absorb it and send it back as well. So it's a really cool way to get them moving and going. So again, some of the extensions that I recommend for stuff like this, and feel free to put in the chat if you have any further extensions. So in terms of doing drama, the mantle of the expert, the tap in, the tableau. I said you could also have, the last one with the animals. You could have them make posters about endangered plants, endangered species, as a possible extension after they've done the movement as well. You could also have them create a market to sell native plants in the area. I thought this was really cool. So you could have the kids go stall to stall and ask questions about their plants. So if they've done a research project and they need to do a presentation, it'd be really cool to set up sort of a fake stall, like just be desks around in a circle. And you could have the kids going to each stall and ask questions, and you as a teacher can be listening in on these sessions. You could have everyone go together, or you could have individual students having a plant sale talking about native plants. So again, and letter writing is always a popular way to finish these drama actions, writing within the mantle of the expert or any of the other drama techniques, or doing it at the very end. How are we doing? How are we doing for time? Oh, goodness. Okay. A couple of more short exercises that you can do. One is called Day in the Life. Improvise scenes in the day of a life of a main character or person or a thing. So groups can prepare scenes or tableaus showing their day. So if you're going to see a day of let's say a toddler, because I still have one in the house, you have a chronological order. So waking up, getting up in the morning. The other kids don't have to be the toddler as well. They can be the bed. They can be all the toys on the floor. Sort of use their imaginations as sort of the day in the life of that person. So you can have conflicts in the day. So the parents can have conflicts with the children, but have them put them in chronological order. And if they don't, they can do it all again together. This can also be done in different groups. So if you want one group to show the morning, another group to show lunch, another group to show the evening, and you could all share together. It's really open in terms of how to facilitate that. Circle of Life is very similar. So you have 4 options. You have home, family, play, and day. So the 4 groups brainstorm the incidents and information about the ways that these make up a character's life, create an improvised scene. Museum tableau. This is one of my favorites. So it's a freeze frame, and then what you do is if you have let's say like weather, so tornadoes, and then you have the other kids so you have different groups. So group 1 is showing their different weather patterns, right? So I'm showing tornado in my weather pattern, and then you have the other groups that are not presenting walk around and look at the ways that weather patterns are being played out in these tableaux. And it's really kind of cool because then you can sort of tell them, in a museum, you don't touch, you don't talk, you have to be quiet. So it's a really good way to do management in the classroom, especially if you have a particularly rowdy class that year. It's a way to sort of keep them engaged. Objects. So I brought some fun stuff. Kids love cool stuff in the classrooms. Bring these types of things in to your classes, and this is, arranged it, and you have them out there. You put them out there. If you've got cool stuff from your travels, and not that we're traveling now, but I've got some cool things, from my different travels. But it doesn't have to be anything complicated. I've got something like this. I've got, I could bring in something like this. And then you have the kids create stories. And this is sort of where we have that physical geography component. You have that cultural background. You have them make up stories. It could be string. It could be rope. I've seen people using just keys. So making up ways, tableaus, stories about these objects, especially if you're looking at a particular area or particular society. Bring in things to see how students interpret those. Photocopy is kind of a cool intro exercise as well. Groups of 3. So what you would do is you have 1, 2, 3. Student A has their back and their eyes are closed. Student B is going to make a shape. So this is my shape. Student C then has to describe to student A, whose back is facing me, what I look like, and student A has to take my shape. Does that make sense? So student A, eyes are closed. Student B, I'm in a shape, I can't talk. Student C has to describe what I look like, and student A has to take that form. So kind of a neat way to get physical again. And I'm going to leave that last one because it's very similar to the other ones we've done. So a couple things that are a little bit, how are we doing? We're still good? I'm running out of time, so I don't want to rush, but I want to get through as much as I can. Good. Duologue. So duologue is a little bit more like acting. You have a script with two people reading. But what I often do is I have the students flip the script. So they read one part A and part B. So they read both and then they flip and they read each other's parts. It should be a conversation, a meaningful one. Sometimes you can have scripts that are really like basic. You can be like, hello, how are you today? Fine, that's great. But then it just changes, you change the tone, and the kids will change the tone depending on, how they say, do it angrily, do it sad, so changing the tone, their tone of voice. Hot seat is one of my favorite exercises. So hot seat is literally what what it is. And again, when I was doing my master's, I had a kid who was really nervous about doing drama, and he did the hot seat and blew me away. So they again become the experts. It can be a role. It usually is a role. So when we were doing the Second World War, he was a man who couldn't go off and fight because he had asthma. So he had to take the hot seat. So he just sits in a seat, and the other kids can question how he feels about it. What did he go get a test? Who told him no? How does his family feel about it? So it really accesses their inquiry skills. They're able to ask really intelligent questions to that person. That person can respond. And if not, if they feel uncomfortable, as a teacher, you can help them out. I asked really simple questions. I modeled the questions at the beginning so that students know how to ask those sort of questions. Writing and role, again, what it says is during the action. One caveat to this, and I've read some controversial theories about using drama in the classroom. There was one school who did, they wrote in role as Indigenous students at residential schools. So obviously, I don't recommend doing subjects like that. I think, drama can access great conversations, and it can have great conversations, but I think we need to be sensitive and comfortable with the ideas that we're presenting, and I don't think writing in role as residential schools was appropriate at that point. So choose your topics, choose your thoughts carefully in terms of what you're going to be presenting. Story drama is also very cool. I'm going to read this to you really quick, and somebody also gave me a novel in an hour, introduction to a novel, break students. Read a chapter, yeah, reading chapters of novels and breaking it down in terms of ways that they can act it out. And this is very similar to Kelly. It's called the Dream Eater. So we use it for tableau work, and I've changed it a little bit. So Freya had a recurring dream. Each night, she was standing on a ledge watching the destruction of the planet. Freya woke from her sleep each time right before the earth swallowed her whole. She went to her family for help, but each member that Freya confronted claimed to have had dreams worse than hers. Her father had not slept because he had dreamt that instead of planting wheat, he had planted bamboo shoots. Without any wheat to harvest, everyone would be hungry, and all because of his foolishness. It's a little bit longer than that, but it is called the Dream Eater, and it's a really cool way to kind of, you have the kids, you can read the story out, and then you have the kids act out each dream. Each nightmare. They create a tableau. They could create moving tableaus. They can create different ones. But the nice thing is at the very end, the Dream Eater was led to the village and ate everyone's bad dreams. And then Freya dreamed of butterflies and relaxing on a hot, warm summer day. So you have them act it out as they go through. They can create tableau. They can create sort of thoughts and ways to use those dreams in terms of interpreting. So we have about 5 minutes left, and says a specific topic for that. So for the dream eater, yeah. So what I wanted to focus on for that one was climate change. Thoughts on this, guys? Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So Kelly also said we can use the tribe's learning community. Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely. And feel free to send me an email as well. So yeah, sorry, Anna, I'm going back to your question there. So yeah, so dealing with climate change. So looking at the destruction of the planet and the ways that by, you can talk about corporations coming in and sort of taking away that sort of natural element to the earth. It can be used, in terms of natural landscapes disappearing. So, I think there's a lot of animals disappearing. So you have to just sort of think of a way that the dreams have to be disturbing. They have to be a violent. Everything's underwater, and sort of a great extension would be ways that we can counteract those destructive forces, and ways that we can develop a positive way to look at things. Let me share the final my final slide here, because it's got my email, and I want to make sure that you have that. So please, I know there's a lot of things, so please make sure that feel free to email me if you'd like. Thivierge@rcgs.org. I am I'm the director here for Can Geo Ed, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about our programs, or about process drama, or about anything that's going on. And I wish you all a great semester. I'm hoping we're all back at school, and I'm hoping that it goes well, and everybody feels that great mental health break that we all so desperately need. And please feel free to use process drama in your classroom, and use the Can Geo Education resources. And if you need ideas, please let me know. Thanks, everybody.